It's almost strange as people file into the room.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our panel. Our discussion today is about innovative and impactful partnerships. We'll start in 2 minutes as other people join us. So please bear with us. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our panel. Today, we'll be talking about inclusive digital partnerships for impact. You are most welcome. Please give us 1 minute. We are going to begin at 17:40 my time. I know it's 2:40 GMT, 9:40 Eastern time. So we'll start in a minute. Super. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our panel. Today, our topic is inclusive digital partnerships for impact. And my name is Henry Mwanyika. I'm Digital Principles Advisory Council member, and I'm privileged today to be a moderator of this panel. In this panel today, we are hearing from different perspectives, people from different backgrounds, so it's going to be a very rich discussion. And to begin with, I would like to just say a few words just to set the stage so that we can have our discussions today. As you all know, digital principles, especially the ones that are talking about collaboration. So there's one talking about be collaborative, and another one is about understanding the existing ecosystem. And these two underpins the whole of society approach to digital transformation journey. So this approach builds ownership and also can help support inclusive design and also mitigate risks and establish sustainable accountability. One of the good things about partnerships, it incorporates viewpoints from broader range of actors on how digital technologies should be procured, implemented, and governed. As we know that countries continue to face challenges with sectoral silos. You can see health sector, financial services, education, but also resource mobilization. Because if you don't work together, there is a chance of duplicating resources in other efforts. So there's also gaps in skills. And also one of the areas that is of critical importance is change management. How do we make sure that we change people's behavior so that they can utilize digital technologies? And also we've seen deficit in high level political will and interoperability between systems. As we've heard several times people talk about interoperability, it begins with people, not only systems and technologies. So global development actors should support and invest in whole of society approaches, as well as capacity building to enable civil society to engage effectively with these processes. So, and that is as part of their digital transformation investments. So today we'll be talking about partnerships. And today we have a distinguished panel that is bringing different perspectives and is coming with different backgrounds. So I'm really looking forward to hear their perspectives. So let me start by introductions. So I'd like each member to introduce themselves. And as they introduce themselves, I would like to hear about how do you see digital principles underpinning or be most complementary to your work. So I would like to start with our first speaker, Nyake. Please welcome.
Thank you. I am Nyake Yoma. I'm Deputy Director, Ministry of Information and Communication. I'm representing the government of Sierra Leone in this panel. Thank you for having me. So the question, the government of Sierra Leone recognizes digital technology as a key enabler for transforming the country and the economy as a whole. It is in this regard that a few months back, the ministry representing the government pursued the finalization of the National Digital Development Policy and Strategy, which gears towards driving the country to a digital economy within the next 5 years. To achieve this vision, it was guided by key digital principles such as understanding the national digital ecosystem, building collaboration amongst government, ministries, departments, and agencies, also encouraging them to be data-driven, whilst emphasizing on addressing privacy and security. Also was to use proven solutions whilst building sustainability. This shows how much digital principle are strongly represented in both the National Digital Development Policy and Strategy.
Thank you, Nyake. I'm very happy to hear that the government is looking at technology as a key enabler and not the end by itself. And that changes the way investments are made and also how people look at technology. Thank you for that great summary, and I'm looking forward to see when your vision is realized. And I think many countries will learn from you guys on how we can properly, as a government, utilize digital technologies. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would ask to invite Sherman, who will bring in a technical expert perspective in this discussion. Sherman, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sherman Kong. I'm a senior advisor with the Digital Impact Alliance that's housed at the UN Foundation. And it's my pleasure today to represent a slew of partnerships that are part of the initiative that I'm going to talk about today, and how some of the digital principles underpin and really promote through this initiative. So I want to talk to you today about some of the work that we're doing. It's an initiative called GovStack, and it's a joint multi-partner effort between the Digital Impact Alliance, the government of Estonia, the government of Germany through their Economic Digital Development Corporation, as well as the International Telecommunications Union, which is the specialized UN agency on ICT for D. And what this partnership or this initiative aims to do is to unpack some of the technical language around digital government, especially in some of the advanced model we've seen so far, where in a traditional approach of digitalizations of government services, we've seen kind of conventionally quite sectoral specific approaches, as Henry alluded to before. But we're also seeing, and we want to start synthesizing some of how other countries are starting to approach it in a more harmonized and coordinated way. And that's by first recognizing there are common technical components that are being shared and reused across in a more whole of government way. Components such as digital ID, payment, security, and so forth. These are underpinning a lot of digital government services, regardless of the sectoral use cases and so on. So the initiative is really to help unpack this and to synthesize for and to inform country digitalization efforts on how they can understand what these components mean in a technical sense. So it's a way to help kind of alleviate some of the headaches that countries are facing when they look at how they would want to recognize these common elements that they can reuse and share across administrations, so that different ministries can reuse these components to build rapid services on top of them. And we've seen cases like this in Estonia, in Singapore, in India, and so on. And I can talk a little bit more about the model and the benefits of it later on. But some of the principles that really underpin this, I can touch on maybe a few, but a core one is really around the design for scale. Given the fact that we're looking at these kinds of framework that identify reusable components in digital government and make for that kind of foundational digital public infrastructures in the country, so that when new digital services are required, it's built on top of this underlying portfolio of infrastructures. So there is more of a common understanding across the administrations, across different ministries, and even so on, the two adjacent social programs and the development partners are involved on what is this core picture of the digital government ecosystem infrastructure that's in place. So any kind of services that are built on top of it can be scaled, and it doesn't have the kind of component doesn't only sit within the use of one sectoral domain. So this is one of the key principles that we see really, help emulate and be promoted by this initiative itself.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sure today, in the course of this discussion, we'll hear more about how we manage to bring different people, different voices, different perspectives together across the government to focus on one thing, for example, ID, because ID is ID, whether it's education, it's agriculture, or it's health. So I'm really looking forward to learn more in your experience, how you bring people together from different perspectives. Thank you for that. So now I would like to welcome Susan to give us her perspective from a private sector. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Gathu. I'm the Senior Technical Project Manager at Intellisoft Consulting. And Intellisoft Consulting is a wholly owned Kenyan company, primarily in the digital health sector. We work with a number of key players across the private sector, development partners, government partners on grant-driven projects. And part of our clients have been Ministry of Health, with sponsors from different partners and donor organizations. Intellisoft is in over 15 countries across the sub-Saharan Africa, and we work a lot in the private sector. One of our key projects in the private sector is a project called Afya Moja. Can translate that to mean One Health. And what we've been trying to achieve with Afya Moja is to make sure that health data is portable in a very robust and sustainable manner through using mobile-based technologies, creating a digital health passport that allows anyone, any patient to travel with their medical information, and for medical practitioners to access this. So we worked with a number of private sector players on Afya Moja. We include Safaricom, GSMA, CarePay, and Savannah Informatics. In the last few months, we've been working with the Digital Impact Alliance on a project called Uwezo wa Dijiti Kenya. Uwezo wa Dijiti Kenya translates to capability of digital. Intellisoft does not work on this alone. We are within a consortium of 3 members, 3 local, a consortium that comprises of 3 local partners that Intellisoft leads. So our 2 other partners include the University of Nairobi's Department of Computing and Informatics, and we also work with the Aura Safira. So part of this partnership is to ensure that we are achieving digital and data transformation through responsible and ethical investments to strengthen digital capacity and therefore improve service delivery in various sectors. So this initiative has seen us test out the adaptation and implementation of the digital principles towards digital transformation. It's primarily embedded in the Government of Kenya's digital blueprint that's intended to support the government's efforts and investments in digital transformation for economical development, as has been prioritized through the Big Four agenda. In the last few weeks, specifically the last 2 weeks, we have conducted very exciting activities, including training key players within the different sectors on the digital principles. We recently completed the Digital Principles Fundamental course, dubbed Digital 101, and we have a set of trainers who undertook the training. And this has formed a foundation for the community of practice for digital principles here in Kenya. I look forward to interacting with all of you here, and I'm really pleased and honored to be part of this great panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'm always fascinated when I see private sector pulling in universities and work together instead of the other way around, private sector being contracted by universities. So I'm really looking forward also to learn from you how you manage to bring and how you to work with universities from that perspective. And so thank you and congratulations with the work that you're doing in Kenya. Last but not least, we'd like to hear from a community builder. So I would like to welcome Rachel to tell us about your work and also how these principles underpin your work. Okay.
Thank you, Henry. I'm Rachel Lawson. I'm the community strategist, which is a new role at the Digital Impact Alliance. So I'm straight here in at the deep end. And my work is really to work on projects, especially like GovStack, as Sherman has already explained, and to help all of those experts that we have that are involved in that program and experts to be on that program to be the most effective and to bring us the best results. That's my job. So interestingly, when we look at things like the digital principles, in terms of community building, they all apply still, even though it's actually aimed at digital, they all apply to community building. And one that's really special to me and things that I'm thinking about will probably be build for sustainability, because we all want GovStack as a project and as an entity to be great for the long term. And that means that we need to do things like think, well, not only what do we put in place for today, but what do we put in place for tomorrow and the day after? So we'll be looking at how we can work with lots of countries around the world as part of that program. And as we do that, the people we're working with will actually become the experts because they will have done it. So us being able to sit there and bring those people up and help mentor them, maybe into sort of actual major roles within the GovStack program of tomorrow. Yeah. So we're always looking for who are the next set of experts who will be stepping up, and that's what I'll be doing.
Thank you, Rachel. As you were saying, as you were talking about building for tomorrow, I remember somebody mentioned a phrase, future-proof. I don't know if there's such a thing, but I think that came into my mind when you talk about the build for sustainability, and you don't think about today. We are using today's challenges to build something that will resolve future challenges. So great work, and I'm looking forward to learn more about how you bring together people from different perspectives as a community builder. So thank you. So I will ask a few questions to the panel, and I'll start with a question that I face as my role, because I work for PATH as Africa Regional Director for Digital Health. And some of the work that we do is how do we work with governments like all of you to make sure that they achieve their digital health or their digital vision. So one of the things that we face and we are seeing that a national digital transformation agenda allows governments to mandate agencies to develop digital expertise, but also to invest in and deliver a comprehensive approach to digital services. We've heard today about IDs, we've heard today about different areas that people work on. And also it gives an opportunity to engage and convene different actors from across the society. So I'll start with you, Rachel, so that you can set the stage as a community builder. Where do you see your work fitting into this journey?
I think that part of my work is making sure that the people who have the actual experience, the more we get that, the people who have actually experienced the problems we're trying to solve are able to get their voice heard. So a lot of the time being able to amplify within our community the voices that need to be heard, because they actually, no one knows better than anyone those that have actually experienced the challenges.
So yeah, that's true. People who come up with the best solutions are the ones who face those challenges on a daily basis. So yeah, thank you for that. Susan, what is your perspective on this?
Right. As governments mandate agencies to develop digital expertise or invest in and deliver comprehensive approaches to digital solutions, a part of our work is being a solution developer and an implementer here locally. So it becomes a collective effort to work with the government and to work with other players across the different sectors, including the beneficiaries in the society, to ensure that we develop solutions that are user-driven, so that we develop friendly, usable solutions that are sustainable, cost-effective, that are built within the local context. And we're able to share our learnings and our lessons through the time, and so that we improve on everything within our existing ecosystem, and we work in a standardized manner, a principled manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. If somebody has made a mistake, why are you repeating? Why you can learn from them? So excellent. We have to learn from each other in order to make sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes. Shaman, please, what is your perspective on this area?
Yeah, I think our work really helps create a sense of harmonization when countries are going through the digitalization journey. So along a pathway of steps, right? When they start developing their thinking about a strategy, going through a roadmap of prioritized use cases, at some point they will run into what we're trying to address from the initiative's point of view is to provide that common language around what is those technical components that needs to come together and interoperate in a way that will facilitate those use cases in a more cross-sectoral sense. So instead of looking at siloed design and projectizations of a use case, we wanted to make sure that there is a common understanding or common, language or layer on these building blocks, what we call fundamental digital components that countries first recognize and put into place in terms of their implementation plan and their strategy, so that as other use cases are being considered in the pipeline, they understand what are those already foundational components that they can reuse to build services on top. And this is something that I see our work really facilitate in the journey of digital transformation agendas within countries. And we are looking to test that with a number of countries, including our partnership with Sierra Leone as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherman. It's always good to have a shared vision when it comes to developing and move away from silo projects or thinking that in silo. So I'd like to come to Nyake. As you developed and you're implementing your vision for digital, can you tell us the benefits with examples to the whole of society approach? And so far, which stakeholders do you feel that they are missing from these partnerships in digital development?
Okay, to start with, whilst going through the formulation of both the National Digital Development Policy and Strategy, we had to actually do it from a whole of government approach. So we invited the civil society, disability groups, governments, private sector, even local councils in the rural community. They were all invited. We actually engaged them to come with their ideas. And it was from all those discussions and stakeholder engagement that these two documents were formulated. So this shows how government is actively working together with all these different groups to build ownership at these various levels. We also believe that as they own the documents, the implementation of these documents will actually be made easy for government.
Thank you, Nyake. And that is excellent, because if people can see themselves in those documents, they are likely to support it and get behind it and making sure that it is successful, because it is our document, not government document that we are implementing. So that's fascinating. So Sherman, can you tell us in your work benefits and examples to the whole society, and who is missing on the table?
Yeah, so answering the first part of the question, just to extend on Nyake's very notable comments, I think our work really is also to democratize ownership in a way. Because of the fact that you've seen countries that are in a more digital advanced stage, that they are looking into using a model like such. They outline what are those common elements and components that they want to create a shared ownerships of. So not only are the administrations themselves looking into being the maintainer and the standard setters of these components, but they also open up the society in terms of participation of delivering those solutions. So in a case like India or Singapore, while they maintain and kind of contain these sets of digital ID payment solutions or informational exchange gateways, there are also protocols that they create for open APIs, so that the larger society, whether it's software developers or local vendors or what have you, or development actors, know how to interact with this core underlying digital government services to build digital services for their own user, build digital services on behalf of government as a client. So I think this is really a fundamental shift away from the sectoral approach, and this is one of the benefits I see in terms of scale up and in terms of agility. And we have seen that in some literature review around real economic return as well, in a sense that if you deliver a more agile approach on standing up digitalizations of services, you have businesses can respond faster, citizens can register services faster. So you break down the inefficiencies in terms of administrative processes. And so I think maybe a little bit cliche, but what I feel missing from these partnerships is it's each other. Like, I'm very happy to see the private sector on a panel with me, because there are a huge body of knowledge that they have, enshrine in their own businesses and development work that we can draw a lot of knowledge from. And I'm happy to see that they are, participating in these development topics, and also within the initiative GovTech as well, and emulating to Rachel's point around community. We also are drawing on expertise not only represented by development actors and digital public goods vendors and product providers that provide solutions specifically to development programs, but if we also tap into private sector actors as well to make sure that we kind of harmonize the understanding and the technical expertise that they have around different digital domains.
Thank you, Sherman. And also I can see that approach also foster innovation so that people can bring more products faster and more robust products faster. Rachel, what's your perspective on this?
I was just thinking actually, because of what Sherman said then about when India implemented some of these tools, they made an API so that people could go out and give their ideas themselves. And I know that there was someone, Shelley in the comments was asking, how do you amplify end users' voices? Well, actually, that's one of the ways, by giving them an opportunity. That API is a platform by which people can say, hey, I've got this idea, I want to play around with it and see if it works, and then implement another payment gateway using this system. And they can do that either at the private sector level, they can do it at the community level. Things like open source projects do that type of thing all the time. That's quite often starts with just 3 or 4 people gathered around a laptop and saying, hey, we could make a change here, because this is something that we on the ground realize that we can do, and it would make our lives better.
Thank you. And that is exactly right. And I think Susan, who is in the private sector, will know exactly how that feels when you have something to play with for you to concretize your ideas. So Susan, welcome.
Thank you. The whole of society approach is really, really, really important, because you have all the actors coming in together to contribute to something larger that drives the societal impact. And therefore, no one can be left behind, just as the SDGs state. And it puts us in the center of everything. I, as the ordinary citizen, I get my views taken in, and we develop solutions that work for us. But how do you develop a solution that works for me as an ordinary citizen? You need to be able to understand the local context. You need to be able to understand who are the players. You need to have the knowledge of what works here, what doesn't work here, and the likes. And so coming together across with all the players has been a very important part. I think in the past, a lot of projects were initially awarded to international organizations, but we've seen the shift change to local organizations driving this solution deployment. And what we can see right now is more effective solutions that are speaking to the needs, the specific needs of the society, and solutions that are more sustainable, less costlier, and that have a larger uptake, because as a user, I associate with the solution easily. I feel that it's set up for my environment and I appreciate it. And in general, when we work together collectively through the whole of society approach, we end up creating solutions that benefit a larger audience because it speaks to this larger audience. So before, now we can see a greater drive for local organizations. And I think that was one of the missing components previously. Thank you.
Thank you. That is exactly, we've seen that shift, and a lot of innovations now are coming from local institutions, private sector, or CSOs and NGOs, and I think many more to come. So we've seen and we've heard and we've mentioned about who is missing. So what contributions do you think the digital development community is missing as a result of this? and especially how would that contribution will help improve decision making. So I'll start now with Rachel.
I think I've got to, because I am new into this type of work. I've come from managing communities in large open source projects before, so I'm still learning some of these pieces and learning about how we do these things. What I'm wondering if we can do more of is excite the engineers who are at university about this work, especially in the places where we're doing it more. So the more we can facilitate those future experts coming from, as we were talking earlier on, we mentioned Sierra Leone as an example. So the more that we can facilitate people in university in Sierra Leone to be the future experts on a global scale, say people from a university in Sierra Leone helping somebody in, I don't know, Mauritania, then that would get me excited, and that I'd like to see that happening. That may well already be a thing, but because I'm new to this area, I may have missed it so far.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true. We can't think about the future of digital development by talking to people like me who are a thing of the past. So we have to encourage future engineers. So Nyake, from the time you started developing and bringing everybody together to develop your vision for digital development. So, and now, what do you think the digital, what was missing as a result of all these people that were missing on the table? And now, based on what you know now, how would that input improve more your vision?
From a government view, I think collaboration had been ongoing. So I would say reaching the last mile, that is the citizens, what was missing. We tend to do a set of awareness raising digital education for a short period. But this is something that needs to go on, because every now and then there are new solutions, there are new initiatives, and the citizens need to know. So what we are looking forward to after the development of both documents is actually reach out to citizens and do awareness raising and do digital education. But also in terms of awareness raising, we plan to do it at all levels, including the politicians, including senior government officials, so that everybody will be aware of all the initiatives that are going on and how they can contribute. So that's what I think was missing.
Excellent, thank you. And I'm happy that you did not stop by mentioning this community, but also you mentioned the senior leadership, which sometimes change management should focus on, as well as to make sure that we are successful. Susan?
Okay. So previously, when we had an international organization driving some of these projects and initiatives, we're missing a couple of components that could drive around the sustainability, the ownership, and the buy-in that has been now accelerated by the local drive that's involving a lot, the local implementers and the locals, the users themselves, a lot more right now. So this environment right now that involves all of us playing together, bringing our different expertise. So for example, in the private sector, we've been able to share our knowledge, around building sustainable models, which have led to building solutions that make sense, that are more cost effective, and that have the users at the center, and that benefits everyone in the partnership, including building for sustainability in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. I like your last word, building for sustainability, and that is critical. Sherman?
Yeah, I think building on Susan's reflection, there are complementarities that I feel at times we're missing in terms of creating greater synergies between the private sector and international development, space. You've seen, really strong maturity from the private sector side in terms of the kind of product maturity, quality, and the management of these innovations or product creations, approaches and processes in R&D and innovations. But we haven't really fully leveraged on how to apply this in the development side as much as I would like to see. At the same time, on the international development actors know and have very direct understanding and actively analyzing problems in social programs and in the countries that they're working with in partnership with. So there is complementary in terms of how to bring those two spaces together to draw on the expertise from the private sector side and to build on the facts that are being found and the requirements that are being called for from the partner countries and the international development space. So I think that there is quite a niche complementarities that I would like to see more fruitfully, developed within initiatives and such. And also it leads to kind of an efficiency if we don't learn from what has been done already, what we're doing in initiative in terms of documenting and developing these thinking around the common digital government components. This is not something new. I mean, we have seen models like this in India and Singapore, Estonia, and we've seen software design in very mature products from the private sector. How can we leverage that and make sure that we bring in their knowledge to complement our efforts that are, being developed here in the initiative itself? And so we're actively doing this, and this is something that excites me in terms of how we'll make sure that in our decision making and informing our technical assistance or development work, that there is full complementaries across different actors in the ecosystem itself.
Thank you. I like the part about how do we learn from other countries as well. How do we bring together experiences of other partners and other countries to make sure that local initiatives can learn from. So briefly, I'd like to welcome Nyake again. So you mentioned about how you're going to bring in community by community education, but how can digital development actors promote the inclusion of these missing actors to make sure that these important contributions are included in your effort?
Okay, I think the first thing we as governments is promoting is that this is a national document. It is both for the private public sector and for the citizens. So we expect as governments in making sure that even in the institutional framework, civil society, private sector, others, even the steering committee himself is sharing. We expect that from their own end too, they comment in their initiatives. So together we can move in the same direction and with one speed.
Thank you, Nyake. As African proverb says, together we can go, I think, far, but alone we can go faster. So I like that. Briefly, Shaman, what's your perspective on this? Before we invite the panel, the audience for questions. And I can see questions are coming up already.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
So it is, how can digital development actors promote really inclusion of these missing actors to make these important contributions?
I think, as I was touching on before, it's drawing on their, the knowledge that they have built within their own industries or in their own countries, and seeing how to complement each other's efforts. I think it would be beautiful to see that happening across different digital development, domains. Maybe one practical way of making that happen is seeing how to incentivize each other. Across different collaborations so far has been a sense of goodwill, of course, and it's around partnerships, but there might be opportunities to actually create, jointly create opportunities for both, to create a set of incentives that we can see how to activate all sides of the system to say, oh, this benefit me as a private sector actor because I potentially have business opportunities to pursue here. And as a development actors, it's incentivizing for me to make sure that I learn from the private sector or from other leading countries, because then I don't have to duplicate the work and I can maximize impact with the investments that I've received so far, because I can learn from the experience that have been done in other leading country samples or programs. So I think this is one of the ways that I see collaborations happen, and the kind of cost benefits outcomes as part of this kind of inclusion efforts.
Thank you, Susan. Anything to add on this area?
We've seen a lot of things change. We've seen people recognizing, again, lead by local as part of the actors who had been left behind. We've seen a lot of things change. There's proactive engagement of local organizations. So for example, the US government, through the PEPFAR funding for local projects, we've seen the government of Kenya itself allocate up to 30% for youth, women, and persons with disability in their expenditure. So with more systems in place, more frameworks, more governance around this and leadership around this area, partners will be able to collaborate effectively, and everyone will be able to benefit together and be able to build for sustainability and be able to build for and with the users. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan. Rachel?
Yeah, everything everyone's really said. The way I would look at it from my background in the open source world and working with people is, first of all, we've got to create the reason for them to come and participate. Often that's because they see a problem that they want to help solve. Once we have people engaged, then we absolutely have to make sure that once they contribute to what we're doing, we give recognition in a way that has meaning to them, whatever that is. And that will change depending upon who the actor is. It's not a case of giving recognition that means something to us, it's something that means something to them. And we need to think about how we're going to do that in different projects and so on. And then keep them engaged, because they might come once or twice to fix problems that mean something to them. But we also, once we've got somebody engaging and fixing things, we want them to help fix things for others and become recognized across the project and across multiple projects, ideally. So it's keeping that recognition up and helping them feel as though they're progressing through our community and others.
Thank you, Rachel. So I was looking at the chat, and I can see Stephen Wanye has asked a question here, which, knowing him, those are questions, they may be very difficult. But let me combine them together. So the question is, what are your thoughts as panelists about how to better create case for or advocate for effective and sustainable digital partnerships? And also, are there any recommendations or examples of the partnership models that can be better institutionalized? So I don't know who would like to go first. Any takers? Or Sherman, based on your work in Estonia?
Yeah, I think I would like to see, in the cases of Estonia and maybe others, there are effective public-private partnership models, in the sense that, you know, while the government contributes in maintaining set standards around these digital components that are really shared and used across the whole of government, there are a lot of engagements with the private sectors in terms of delivery of the solutions. So there are some, I guess there's some practical agreements that are set in place in terms of how private sector contributes to the development of digital government services, and be the implementer or maintainer of some of these solutions and services. So it's not necessarily everything is centralized in terms of capacity or in terms of development effort within the administration itself. And that, I think, with the fact that we're learning from models like such, and you've seen cases also like in Singapore, like in India, where they open up the digital government infrastructure through APIs where industries can participate. There are, you know, this kind of also creates a greater incentive in terms of partners that you might not have seen participate in the past in terms of development programs or in terms of providing digital government services. Like what Rachel mentioned, you could have really talented, you know, few people that can develop, you know, really robust solutions for government services that, you know, they might not have recognized otherwise, because they had traditionally gone through you know, big tenders and you know, go through big vendors that then, you know, require some kind of lock-in agreements and so on. So this kind of helps create new sets of you know, more synergistic partnerships in terms of creating other enabling parties to jointly develop government services together.
Thank you, Sherman. So let me ask Nyake, are there any models that you are looking at, or are there things that you are learning of, or things that you've tried and worked in the past when it comes to digital partnership models?
Yes. Months back, we have started actually implementing a public-private partnership in terms of management. So, for instance, there was one instance we unbundled the wet segments of our internet infrastructure and the dry segments outsourced for management and commercialization. And now the dry segments will be in the next few weeks, management and commercialization. So we are trying to get the price of whatever government has actually invested in. So together we can actually be involved in driving the ecosystem forward.
Thank you, Nyake. Rachel, what's your perspective on this?
I think I'm still learning how that applies in this context, but being able to listen to the different actors and saying, yeah, what matters to you, and being able, that's what keeps them engaged. Yeah, what is it you want to get out of this over and above, whatever contract might be, because that can also attract different types of actors. Again, as I say, small groups of people as well as large multinationals.
Thank you. So Susan, since you're from a private sector, and sometimes, as the question put here, sometimes business models may have an impact on these partnerships. So based on your work and the work that you do in Kenya and other countries, what are these partnership models? And from your perspective, how business models can affect these partnerships?
So the business models, of course, are informed by the need from the users and whether they have the need for that. And
I think, is it me or we are losing Susan?
I think so.
In the market usually is.
Sorry, Susan.
I
don't know why that happens normally. We're about to learn good things from Susan. The internet is playing, always happens. Hopefully, our internet
work with the DP 101 train, share and understand the digital principles a lot better.
So, Susan, you mentioned great points, but we missed some of the almost maybe 80% of what you said. I don't know if you can summarize what you said so that we can all benefit from your perspective. Oops. Wow, okay. Maybe we can share through email her perspective. So is there any other question from the audience? I know we have 5 minutes to go, if I'm not mistaken. So Susan, can you summarize what you said? Because we lost you, your voice disappeared, so we missed almost 80% of your great points. So if you are kind enough to summarize so that we can all benefit.
My apologies, technical challenges as we speak. Maybe we'll work a lot better with our technical ASPs here to improve on this. So I was just giving a recap of our last activities in the last 2 weeks. We're privileged to train a number of people across the sectors and to start to understand what their needs are and the gaps that they have in these various areas. And that way we gather information about what do they really need, how do they need it, at what point are they at, and then we're also able to work with them a lot closely to develop models that work and form partnerships that inform how this can be a collective effort and a sustainable effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Any other question that I missed from the chat? I know some questions were asked and Rachel was kind enough to respond to some of them. So any other question that I may have missed? There was a question about how do you amplify end users' voices, and I think that was responded to. Any other? Or maybe Rachel, you'd like to speak more about your response?
I could, if you like, yeah. So in terms of amplifying users' voices, it makes such a difference to do that. They are the experts in the problem. What we need to be able to do is to help them express their problem in a way that we can understand. So I know with, for example, GovStack, we're about to start producing a huge, very huge set of specifications. And we will need people to go through those and say, actually, no, this bit here is a problem. And can you explain this more? Can you expand on this and so on? My expertise would say change it in this way. So we need to make it possible for everyone to be able to go and give us their comments, and also for people to feel that their voice is valuable. So again, that comes down to helping them make those comments, so making it a simple way to do it, with plenty of things they can read and onboarding into the community that helps them feel welcome. And then we need to make sure that when they've actually been doing their things, as I think I've said a couple of times now, we need to recognize the work that they've done, especially with end users who they're not doing this because they're getting paid. Generally, they're doing it because they care. Yeah, they're doing it because it matters to them, that they tell us about their personal situation. So we need to be able to recognize that and help them along the way. And then again, recognize their effort once they've done it.
Thank you. So in the last final 1 minute, I'd like to welcome Nyake, just to give us, based on what you heard today, how would this experience will change or will improve the way you think about how Sierra Leone can achieve and change the way you're going to implement your digital vision. My apologies for putting you on the spot.
It's okay, Henry. I think having a panel with mixed representation as to hear different views and see what has been the perspective from different sectors. I think I've been taking notes. I think that will help us actually moving forward, see how we could implement our digital development policy and strategy, and how we could continue to outside the public sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nyake, for those final remarks. And I'm really, really looking forward to see how Sierra Leone will achieve the digital strategy. And I'm really looking forward for other countries to learn from you guys. How do you bring together all these sectors and so that they can develop something for the future? So we heard today about future generation, and I'm really looking forward to see the work that all of you, Sherman, Rachel, Susan, and Nyake, you are doing to achieve, to make sure that we can change the world through digital. So again, it's been a pleasure moderating this session. I've learned quite a lot, and I'm looking forward to learn more about your work, to read more about your work. So thank you, everyone, and thank you all the participants, and have a good day. Enjoy the rest of ICT4D. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.